So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of this season plays out to see how they reintegrate. Because I don't know that they can take this another season. I think this is going to be the last one. And if anything, I could argue that they're laying the groundwork for the introduction of the Fantastic Four near or at the end of this season.
Yeah. I could.
Which provides it provides a jumping off point for that, and it allows them to get Loki out of this and back to the timeline.
Yeah.
So
I hadn't thought about that, but they're going to have to do it at some point, and this was as good a place as any, really.
Yeah, the only problem I can see with that theory, and yes, I'm about to punch a hole in my own theory, is that they haven't cast the Fantastic Four yet. They can't cast the Fantastic Four yet because there's a strike. So they if they have a scene that does that's written, they can't shoot it until they cast it, and they can't shoot it until the strike is over. But they're already running the series.
But what if they did cast it?
Yeah, exactly. If they're sitting on something,
which is not very Disney-like, but I wish it was what Disney did.
Well, it would be very pre-Disney Marvel-like.
Yeah.
It would be old Marvel-like. So pre-20, 2014, 2016, 2014.
I mean, I would really, I would like them. We talked about this. I think what happened is they got a formula and they got lazy. And they stopped being exciting. They stopped because there was a time where when the Marvel films, you really didn't know what was happening next. We knew where the end, that eventually was going to go to Thanos.
Yep.
But the ride there, and they didn't, Thanos wasn't like right out of the gate.
No.
I don't know. I just think. We need something to surprise us again.
Yep, and so I'm hoping that's what happens, because I've seen there's been a whole lot of casting, not casting for Fantastic Four. Like this person, oh no, this person's I was never contacted, or no, this person's out of the running. It's like, oh, are they? Were they?
Well, and that when it comes to that sort of stuff, you can't expect everyone to be telling the truth.
Oh God, no! Everyone's lying.
So
they're all lying about something.
Yeah. So I guess when an actor says no, I've never been approached for this role, and then 6 months later it's like, well, actually we shot it, and anyway, that to me is I'm totally fine with that sort of game.
Absolutely.
If they want to play that game.
I would rather them do that than all of this. Yeah. And, here's the next 12 films we're going to put out.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, tell me the next film that's going to come out. Then tell me the next film. If these are the movies that are coming out next year. Don't tell me 5 years down the road, because now and honestly, that's what's ruined Marvel more than anything, is the fact that they've allowed the fans so much time to construct through all of these films in their head that they can't win. They can't win for losing. So it's, tell us what's coming out next year. Or, when the news comes out, oh, this film is shooting. Done. This is the cast. And that reporting will get out. That's fine. But don't lay out plans for movies that you, haven't written yet, haven't cast yet, don't have a director for. They're hamstringing themselves. I think they do it to try to convince fans that they have a plan, but that's too much. If you have a plan, keep that shit under wraps.
Well, I think they did have a plan.
But hey, look, if you enjoy what you're seeing and hearing on the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast, why not take a second to click subscribe if you're on YouTube, click follow wherever you're listening to us. Follow us on Twitter at VS Movie Podcast. Same over on Facebook. If you're on Instagram, it's Visually Stunning Movie Podcast. That would be awesome for us. We appreciate you listening. And now let's get back to the show. at one
Now,
point.
do they have a plan? That I don't, to this point, well, the last phase didn't really, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, but the last phase didn't make much sense.
Nope.
So you better start making some sense, or the people are going to get off that bandwagon.
Yeah. Yes, they
Well, they
are.
are. They
And they
already are.
have been. And again, that's what sucks. We talked about this with the Star Wars stuff, and we've talked about it with the Marvel stuff. Uh, they burned a lot of bridges. So if they do put out something good, not enough people are watching it, and the people that are watching it, if they're enjoying it, no one believes them when they're telling their friends to watch it now. So it's kind of just been a self-fulfilling prophecy in that people don't, or people aren't watching. So even if it's good, they're not watching. But if they're told it's good, they don't believe it because they've been given enough mediocre or not great. I mean, what James Gunn is catching no end of crap over in DC right now because he called The Flash the greatest superhero film ever made, and it didn't make as much money as Black Adam.
Yeah.
Considered one of the worst.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't believe the studios when they tell you things, especially if they're telling you things about the quality. It's like don't tell us what's coming. Don't tell us how good you think it is, because we're not going to believe you. Because no studio is ever to come out. Yeah, it's all right. No studio has ever released a film and said, yeah, about 40% of the people are really going to love this.
Yeah.
So whatever, studios make the announcement, move on. Leave the hype for the press tour, for the actors talking about how much fun they had, and the director, telling how great his cast was. But yeah, so you can't trust the studios anymore. But then if you can't trust the studios, and then you don't trust the people that are telling you to watch it or not watch it
Yeah.
or whatever, it's like how do they get it back? And I don't think you can get it back through television. I think the only way Star Wars is going to come back, and the only way Marvel is going to quote unquote come back to that level of excitement and viewer enthusiasm, is cinematically. They've got to put a great movie in the theaters so that when it hits, it doesn't have to make $200 million on opening weekend, but it's got to do good business and get the word of mouth going. Holy crap. And then repeat viewership, because I can
Yeah.
watch a show 6 times on television that I would not pay to watch 6 times in a theater. But if you put out a movie that people will see twice so that they can take their friends the second time, that is
Yeah.
what both
Well,
of
and that's
those
what.
franchises need. They're
Well,
not
and that
going to
was
do
what.
it on the backs of streaming.
Correct. And
Um,
I think they have over the last year realized that. I think that. Well, first of all, I don't think any of the studios understood streaming. They didn't understand how they were making money when Netflix was showing their stuff, and why they don't get all the same amount of money when Netflix isn't paying them for their stuff
I know it's
to show
weird,
it.
right?
It's like they thought that, okay, well, Netflix is paying us X amount, so if we put it out on our own, we get X amount plus. And no, that's not how it
That's not
works.
you minus X. You
Exactly.
start
You get,
out at minus X.
yeah, and
Well,
then
and
you
that's
build from there.
that's really the difference between Netflix and Disney Plus. Now you can argue the Amazon and the Apple, but Netflix started as point of service.
Yeah.
They were Blockbuster. They said, here is a place you can come to get all of this stuff. Then they started buying specifically stuff for themselves. And then they started making stuff for themselves. Disney had all the stuff and then tried to funnel it through a point of service that was costing them money.
Yeah.
And then they kept making content that was costing them money. And again, so I hope they figured out what now they're going to raise the price for Disney Plus, and Netflix is raising their prices too. But Disney is going to raise their price and reduce their output. So it's like, why are we paying more for less? I think
Well,
that's they might
it's
overcorrect.
because they screwed up.
They screwed up. But you don't
moral
screw
is
up and then charge the customer more for the right to watch your screw ups.
Well, that may be, and we'll see what happens.
But they're also, I guess, they're going to again. Then we got Hulu coming, the Hulu buy coming, and that's going to be make or break how they handle that.